everyone! So it's come to my attention that I've talked about me being in the consumer product space, but what exactly does that mean when you're working in sustainability? A lot more than less these days. There's a lot of roles out there that already exist and they're just adding another layer of sustainability to it. And so if you're interested in getting a job in the consumer product space but don't see any sustainability roles open, or maybe you don't even have a background in sustainability, I wanted to share other types of jobs that are out there that probably doesn't have that role title sustainability in it, but is probably part of its function and its role. So what is a consumer product? If you aren't quite sure what that means, it's really just any product that you and I would buy. So it can be food and beverages, it can be furniture, it can be diapers, it can be the clothes I'm wearing, the jewelry I'm wearing, these glasses. And so pretty much anything that a regular customer would buy for their own living purposes can be defined as a consumer product. And in this industry, there's actually different types of business models that can influence the type of role that you get in this space. So the first one is a company that sells their own branded products. So what that means is, like what I just stated, a company that sells their own branded products. This can be a store like Nike, for example, or Burt's Bees. They're the people who make and sell their own products that have their brand logo on it. Another type of business in this space could be a licensed business. So this means that if there are companies out there that have really credible intellectual property, like think about Universal, how they have the Minions, there are other companies out there that would want to purchase the Minions character to create their own products. And so that would be something like a licensed company. And lastly, you have those retail companies that sell a lot of different types of brands within their store. So think about Sephora that has all these different brands that they're selling. And then same with Target, how they have all these different brands and we buy from them. And so those are some of the types. There are some cases where retail stores do sell their own branded products. Like if you think about Costco, Sam's Club, Target, Walmart, they have their own branded products that they sell and their own labels that they own. And so those are just some of the high level business models that I'm aware of that you guys should be aware of when you're thinking about applying to any of these types of companies. So like what I mentioned in this video, I really wanted to share not just about what the sustainability team can do in each of these types of businesses, but pretty much how a product is made, because in that cycle or that process, there are different teams that are touching the product and they have their own responsibilities. And within the cycle, you can have some type of sustainability role built on top of that pre-existing role. And so to start off with the types of roles that are out there in this space that I'm aware of, and if you have any ideas of other roles out there, then please pop it in the comments as I go through. But the first one will be that sustainability team. So, you know, they're responsible for a lot of different things. It really depends on where they sit in the organization. These types of teams are typically responsible for a combination of doing environmental science, like analytics, and doing research, doing business strategy, so working with a lot of stakeholders to implement a new program or a process, and then lastly, also doing communications. I feel like that's something that was just so honed into me from my graduate degree, that no matter what you're doing in sustainability, you're always going to have that aspect of communications, because it's not a standalone team that, you know, tries to do all this work. You really have to work with everyone, understand their pain points, their challenges, seeing how you can work together, and that really involves strong communication between your team members within your team and then also the team members outside of your team. So one of the teams that I can think of that can have a layer of sustainability in it is the policy team. So the policy team within a company, those are the people that are usually keeping up with new and emerging regulations, current regulations, and they're super important because as new regulations come in, or the ones that are already there, they have to make sure that the company isn't, like, you know, breaking the policy or the regulation, because a lot of consequences can come if that were to happen. So policy teams really do help prepare the business to make sure that with whatever emerging regulation is coming in the pipeline, the company is ready to take that on, and they have the processes within the company to get ready for that and be ready for that. The layer of sustainability comes in when there are sustainability related regulations coming into the pipeline or already existing. One that I can think of is in the EU, they're actually coming out with a green claims, green messaging regulation. Not a lot of information has been shared as of yet, but if you're a company that's making products, you definitely want to make sure that when that regulation comes out and you're selling in Europe, that you're doing it in a way where it's not going to break it, or there might be fines that might come with it if they find out that you are. Another team that I can think about that has a layer of sustainability in the product space is that design team. So the design team, as you guessed it, they're the people who are designing the products and the packaging. They can figure out how to design a package where it uses less material, or instead of plastic, they can figure out how to redesign it with using certified paper or something like that. If you think about the products, they can figure out a way to, instead of having it be single-use, how can you make this single-use type of item to be reusable? And so there's different components that come into this. A lot of it is, the functionality, the usability to its consumers, and thinking about the recyclability of it afterward. But I'd say this team is super important. I'm definitely not that close to that work, but as I continue into the path that I've been doing, this is a really crucial role that I feel like is going to be emerging in the future. So we have something called the sourcing team. The sourcing teams are the people that once the design has been done, they're the people who are trying to figure out, okay, in this design, in this product or package, the designers are saying that they want paper in the packaging, or they want like this type of material for the products. All right, it's our time to go and get it and do some negotiation with vendors, seeing if they can reduce the prices of it or not. The sourcing team overall does have a really important role in sustainability, because if you didn't know by now, there's something really important called supplier engagement, and this type of engagement is, reaching out to our suppliers, so people that we're buying materials from, if you're the sourcing team, and trying to make sure that the people we're buying from are people that are following and have similar environmental objectives. And a lot of this work is super important, because in order for a company that makes products to achieve its goals, they have to highly rely on who they're sourcing from, and getting materials from, getting stuff from, buying from. This team is really important, particularly with the communications, the engagement, and the education factor, I'd say. So the product integrity team, this is a team that I've come to know to really focus on the safety and the health of the product and making sure that it's compliant in that way, because there's a lot of regulations and laws out there that say that certain products have to meet the safety level for us to actually consume it. And so what these teams can be responsible for is that when you see a product having a certain claim that contains X material in it, so if you were to buy a shirt and on the hang tag it says it's made with 50% recycled content, there has to be a team that validates that. Now, the way that you validate this really depends on the documentation that you're getting from your vendors and your supply chain. And so the product integrity team would be those people to, or can be those people to gather that information. And that's really important, because you do want to make sure that what you're communicating on and what's actually in the product is in the product. And so do see that this is where product integrity can be really important to the process. So the marketing and comms team, you can probably guess what they can be responsible for, and that's everything related to green messaging. And we all know about that issue about greenwashing, talking about a product where it might be said to be more green than it actually is, or it's not being said in the most truthful manner that it can be. And so that's where the marketing and comms team can have that layer and impact within sustainability. There's a lot of best practice documents out there based on your country and region that you can look at there hasn't really been, you know, like a stringent policy on it, but there have been big companies who are greenwashing and they get sued for a lot of money. And understanding how what I mentioned at the beginning of this chat, that there is a policy coming out in Europe, a lot of companies are gonna have to adhere to it. And so I would think that the comms and marketing team would have to have at least a baseline understanding of what they can say and what they can't say. So more to come, but that's really exciting, I'd say, because we all need it. We all don't want to, you know, be brainwashed to think something's better than it actually is. But when that comes out, I'll talk more about that. So this last team is the legal team. They have a really big hand on certain processes to make sure that it follows the law. But then later on, as things are being communicated outward, making sure that, you know, there isn't such a high risk of greenwashing, because it really does damage the brand's reputation if that were to happen. So legal can definitely play a really big part of it. Do see that in the future there will probably be more stringent laws against it. Now, that will depend on the country, how stringent it would be, but it's definitely really important, and know that this can play a huge role in it. So a very short and snappy video, but I just wanted you guys to see that you don't have to be searching for a role that just says sustainability or environmental blah in it. In the consumer product space, there's just so many different functions that are super impactful for each step of the process. And so hope that this opened your eyes a bit more. But yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. But if you didn't, don't give it a thumbs down. No, just kidding. Do whatever you want. But until next time, guys. Bye.